Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca Merrill, and I manage all things digital at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. Today I am talking to you using one of our new Cathedral virtual backgrounds, which you can download from our website to spice up your Zoom meetings. And I am chatting with my colleague Peter Ennis, who manages the Liturgy department at the Cathedral, to see how he's faring in the pandemic now that the Cathedral has temporarily closed. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I am doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Where am I talking to you from?
I'm in our apartment in Prospect Heights in Brooklyn. And I'm in my office, which is known as my office, which is also the bedroom. And my husband Richard is in his office, which is the dining room on the opposite end of the apartment.
So you're repurposing spaces.
Yes, and nice distance, not just for safety's sake, but he does his thing over there. I'm on the phone over here. I'm doing Zoom meetings. So we separated nicely.
Yeah, that's nice. I mentioned that you manage the liturgy department at the Cathedral. When the Cathedral is open, what does that look like?
Okay, so back in 2014, I was laid off from a corporate IT job, and I took some time off to figure out what I was going to do with my life next.
Mm-hmm.
And it was around the summer of 2015, Julia Whitworth, she was the canon for liturgy at the cathedral at the time, was looking for somebody to just help out part-time in the summer over there. And we got to meet each other when I was serving at big diocesan services at the cathedral as a verger. And she asked me if I wanted to come help out. And that part-time job became a permanent part-time job. And then towards the end of 2017, I actually became a full-time employee of the cathedral, working in the liturgy department. Then Amanda Sidebottom was the manager at the time. Then she moved on into the productions department. And that's how I became the manager of the liturgy department. So I usually go by the title of sacristan.
Okay.
Cathedral, and people automatically will ask, what is that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? And my quick way of explaining what it is that I do is I make sure that everything and everybody is in place for all the church services that happen at the cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
So we have over 1,000 church services at the cathedral, which means a lot of coordinating and making sure everything is there. I sort of schedule a lot of the people that are leading up services during the week. And I order the bread, the wine, the candles, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other big tasks that I have is overseeing the production of the service programs that we have for Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's, in a nutshell, what I'm doing.
Yeah. So now that we don't have services at the cathedral, how does that change what being a sacristan means?
Well, there's a lot less ordering of supplies going on.
A lot less ordering wine, more drinking wine.
Yes, yeah. And on the bread side, I got into me baking bread for the first time ever. So
oh, fun!
That's kind of fun thing. So what's the first challenge is what do we do for the cathedral as far as services are concerned, and doing it in an online environment. Mm-hmm. So we've now gotten to quite a full program with our daily offices, the morning and evening prayer services that we do Mondays through Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. And these have been very popular. I mean, we get 15 to 20 people at each of these services, which is a lot more than we would have in person in the cathedral.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is the daily office services started from the young adults in the congregation of St. Savior. Mm-hmm. And we've developed this thing where it's myself, Winston Ginn, and Neil Riley sort of managing it. It's a Zoom service, and we create PowerPoints for every service. Mm-hmm. which is a little labor intensive in the beginning. But now once we got everything set up, we just have to change a few things, like the readings for the day and some of the prayers and whatever.
Right.
And the Zoom meetings, actually, the three of us who run the whole thing. One person is just involved with doing the PowerPoint slides, and one person is muting and unmuting people that are participating, and the other one is managing the door of the waiting room. So Winston is sort of referred to it as being e-vergers.
Yeah. And you were saying to me the other day that you've been getting people who from sort of like all over that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to come to a service at the cathedral otherwise because they don't live here or something like that.
Yeah, well, some of the people have sort of left the New York area and had second homes elsewhere. We have some people from Maryland, dialing in every day, Connecticut. And we have a woman, Judith, that she saw the Democracy Now! Interview that the dean of the cathedral. And she remembers back in the 80s, there was some anti-war peace march going on in New York City. And she came to that. And she remembers going to the cathedral because there was an event held at the cathedral in support of the march that they were on. And apparently some people even were housed in the cathedral for that. And she lives out in the Monterey area in California now. And she joins us every day for morning prayer and evening prayer.
That's so lovely.
So I think it's quite amazing. And we find it also with the services that we do on Sundays, that last Sunday we had somebody from Tasmania. We have people from Italy, and we have people from all over the country that check our services out online. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah. As you mentioned, we're also live streaming our Sunday services at 11 a.m. to a sort of a broader audience. And all that info is on our website.
Yeah, and it's amazing the stuff that you know yourself, being involved in all of this, all the things that we've had to learn to be able to produce these online services. And we've had to do it in a very short period of time.
Yeah, Easter was quite soon after we were trying to figure that out. Yeah. I've been saying that it's sort of, we're in this situation where our jobs are the same, but what we do every day we've had to relearn or pull on skills that we haven't had to use in so long to get things done. So right before the cathedral closed temporarily, we announced we're always trying to have fun staff-wide initiatives, and our most recent one was called the Ennis Challenge, which was obviously named after you, Peter Ennis. Can you tell me a little bit about the Ennis Challenge and how it came about and what it was and what it is?
I don't know how it got to starting to look at my steps on my iPhone just on a regular basis to see how active I was. And there's a couple of days in the liturgical year that involves a lot of walking around the cathedral. The cathedral is large, being 600 feet from one end to the other. Excuse me. And I checked for it was Christmas Eve. So we have 2 services on Christmas Eve, and then we have a service on Christmas Day as well. But there's a lot of preparation, there's decoration and stuff going on. So I spent most of Saturday in the cathedral up and down. And at the end of the day, when I looked at my steps, I had completed over 32,000 steps.
Just wild.
Which was kind of funny. And I think I mentioned it to you or somebody in your department. And I think you were the one that came up with the idea of creating the Ennis Challenge to see if any of my colleagues on the Cathedral Close will be able to match or better my 32,000 steps.
Yeah, I love getting to use my rudimentary skills for something fun like this. So we put a challenge out to everybody on the Close to see if you could walk more steps in a single day. It could include coming to work, everything you did at work and going home. Peter was you were a good sport and let me Photoshop your face onto like clip art of walking figures to send out. And the response we got was so funny. You got it, I got it, because I sent the email, which was just like, some people were like, oh my gosh, that's really amazing, Peter. Other people were like, I can beat that. Of course I can. And then there were the people who were like, there's no way you could have done that. They just could not believe that it was possible.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I checked back through the records of steps, and I looked at Gay Pride last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make 32,000 steps during Gay Pride. So it's a lot of walking.
Yeah, Christmas was more.
What
so
was also interesting is, I look back at Holy Saturday 2019, which was also a busy day at the cathedral, preparing services that night and the next day. And I had around 32,000 steps for that one too.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it'd be interesting to compare it to what Holy Saturday was like being in lockdown this year. And Rich and I have gotten into the habit of going for a walk late afternoon, early evening, just to get out of the apartment, avoid other people, and I managed to get 4,000 steps in.
Just a bit of a difference between last year.
Slight difference.
Yeah. So you and I were part of a group of people earlier this week or last week, I can't remember, who were brainstorming since the original Ennis challenge is not really a thing we can sort of safely look towards anymore, what a new Ennis challenge would be. And a lot of people in the meeting were talking about how since this order came out that all of New Yorkers have to wear covering on their face, some of us have had to improvise a bit with what we are using, and many people have items that are cathedral related, like a go-to cathedral thing, either something they've purchased at the store, something that reminds them of the cathedral, something that they got from the cathedral. And we thought that we've issued a new staff-wide challenge to sort of like show your cathedral pride in your face covering, which is wild that that's even a thing that is a thing that needs to be done. But that is where the Ennis challenge has taken us now. You mentioned you've been going out on walks a lot. Are you covering your face, and what sort of like fun things are you doing to spice up your face covering?
Well, I mean, when it first came out, it's like, okay, we didn't have any masks and you couldn't find any in the store.
Yeah.
So I had these extra large bandanas, which works fine. That was a quick one. And the first time we went out, I posted a picture and people said I looked like I was a gangster. So then a friend of ours he was a former parishioner at St. Michael's, and he just contacted me through Facebook and said, I'm making masks. Do you want one? I said, sure. So he mailed us these beautiful fabric masks that he's been making and just sending out to people. So that was the first proper one. And then a couple of days later, we were on our walk, and a couple of doors down from us, somebody had put a box out on their fence filled with masks that apparently people in that building or so had been making, and just leaving it out on the street for anybody who wanted a mask to take one, which I thought was really great.
Yeah, those stories of neighbors helping neighbors really warm the heart.
Yeah.
Have you found any sort of, it sounds like you're going for a walk every day. Is there anything else that gives you a sense of normalcy? Is there no normalcy to be found in this situation?
Well, normalcy is all relative these days.
So true.
Well, the interesting thing is, work has actually had a normal routine for me. It was like every morning, get up, do morning prayer, do other stuff, other meetings, Zoom meetings, lots of Zoom meetings, lunch, then more stuff, preparing for these daily offs, and then evening prayer. And there's a rota for the services. It's like the same people on every Saturday morning or Tuesday afternoon. So, when I see Jennifer, it must be Monday evening. because you also lose track of what day of the week it is.
Totally.
I think it's just because everything looks the same every day. You get up and do the same thing. So the normal routine is work, doing these services, preparing for them, coming up with ways of eating 3 times.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It is. And then sleeping and getting up and doing it all over again. And then the other thing is the walks that we try and get in.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's really cool is the 7 o'clock cheers that go on.
Mm-hmm.
Like our block is it's a very residential block, and it took a while for it to kick in. We're not near a hospital, so we don't have a lot of ambulances or first responders going by, but it started off, and I think it started off actually with little kids across the street. There's 2 little girls in 2 different houses across the street from us, and they're out there every day with mom and dad, and so it's kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days ago, at the end of our 5-minute cheering, people broke out into singing happy birthday for somebody on the board.
Oh.
It was kind of really fun. I see it for us not so much as an opportunity. Well, we are thanking everybody that's doing stuff in it, but it's also a signal of, yes, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're hanging in there, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah. When you can't, all those things that you normally do to, living in New York City is interesting in a lot of ways, but you're constantly surrounded by people, and people can talk how you can be alone in a big group of people and all those different things, but there is something about just being inside. It's like we didn't move to New York City to stay inside and not see anybody all day, and so there's something very comforting about being like, oh yeah, I still am surrounded by all those hundreds of people that I normally do pass every day. Has there been anything that has surprised you about working from home or anything like that? Good, bad, ugly?
I mean, with my type of work before in IT and even at the cathedral, there was a lot of stuff that I can do from home. So I've been used to at times working from home, but doing it all the time is a change. And then with both of us at home working all the time, it's actually been much easier than I expected. And we haven't driven each other crazy.
That's always key.
So it's like if there's ever a test to see if relationships are going to last, this might be one of them.
Now is the moment. Well, it's nice that you have separate areas that you can be in during the day.
Yeah. It was like, we miss the regular routine of going to the gym and stuff like that, but we manage.
Yes, of course.
Then, the funny things that happen is like you start craving stuff that you can't get. For us, it's been Chinese takeout food.
Yeah.
Chinese restaurants were the first ones to really
I know, it's so
down.
sad.
And it was interesting because some of it had to do with people were afraid to go to work. And then apparently also the main suppliers for them are in Chinatown. And when the people they didn't have people to work in the supply stores.
Yeah.
That sort of, just worked through the whole system that, there are no Chinese restaurants open in the city.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, we took a walk. It was nice out. And we walked down Atlantic Avenue all the way down to the waterfront. And once we got there were too many people in the park, so we just turned around and came back.
Yeah.
But Richard he was craving a slice of pizza. It's not even anything that we eat on a regular basis, but just because you can't have it, suddenly you want it.
Yeah.
And we found a place that was open that had slices of pizza, a slice and a soda, and sat out on the sidewalk and had our pizza.
Oh.
And then he decided he wanted cannoli. Really pushing it.
Yeah, I know, right? You got your pizza.
But on the way home, there was a deli that was open, and I walked in and they had cannolis. So, it worked out.
It's like what small joy that you can find.
Yeah.
Last question I have, what I've been asking everybody, when our lovely cathedral reopens, whenever that is, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward mostly to see the people. people we work with, the people that visit the cathedral, the people that worship there. And just to be in that space. I mean, it is such an amazing space. It's like, I've been working there for over 5 years now. It's like every time I walk in there, I'm still amazed at just looking at it. So, yeah, but then with that comes the challenge of how are we going to deal with this? How do we interact with each other? Because there's still going to be some kind of physical distancing that has to happen. I mean, we're not going to be able to go up and hug people, and like when you really want to, you just can't do it. And then, in a way, I'm looking forward to the challenge to figuring out how we're going to do church once we're back in the space with certain restraints that we have. And I was just thinking about it as I was getting ready for talking to you, and thinking back what has happened in the last year at the cathedral. Starting with the fire on Palm Sunday. And how we had to adjust and reimagine how we're going to do church and where we're going to do church. And then from that, we went into the cleaning of the cathedral, where we were constantly moving around, reconfiguring the cathedral, trying to figure out what's the best way to do church. And the next thing, we're trying to figure out how to do church in an online environment. So there's challenges going to be ahead. But I think the group of people that I work with at the cathedral are an amazing, group of people, and we have come up with some innovative ways of doing things. So,
in a way, the past year has prepared us to be ready whenever we can go back in. We don't know how we'll be able to or what we'll be able to do, but we know that we have the relationships and the structures in place to be able to take whatever we get and roll with it.
Yeah, and sometimes just hit the ground running and do it.
Yeah, we're ready. In a safe time.
Yes.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was nice.
Thank you. It's nice chatting with you. And
yes, same. And I'm sure I'll see you on Zoom soon.
I'm sure.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.